Some names are inherited, others must be earned. For Paolo Maldini, the name was both a gift and a burden. He was born into football, but not into comfort, because when your father is a legend, the world does not clap when you arrive, it watches closely. In Milan, football was not entertainment. It was identity. The red and black were not colors. They were a responsibility. Paolo grew up walking the corridors of San Siro, a child surrounded by echoes of battles fought before he could even understand the rules of the game. His father, Cesare Maldini, was not just a former captain of AC Milan. He was a symbol of discipline, dignity, and silence. At home, there were no speeches about greatness, no talk of trophies, only one rule: respect the game, and the game will respect you. Paolo was not loud. He was not aggressive. He did not dream of scoring goals. What fascinated him was control. He watched defenders, not the ones who slid recklessly, but the ones who arrived early, who solved problems before they existed. As a boy, he learned something most players never do. Football is not about reacting. It is about anticipating. At the youth academy, coaches noticed it immediately. He didn't chase the ball. He positioned himself so the ball had nowhere else to go. While other kids relied on speed or strength, Paolo relied on reading the game. That made him different. And different, in football, is always questioned first. Some said he was too calm. Others said he lacked aggression. But calm was not weakness. It was preparation. At just 16 years old, when most boys were still dreaming, Paolo Maldini stepped into the Milan first team. No celebration, no headlines, just a quiet debut that would quietly begin one of the longest, most loyal careers football has ever seen. He played left back, a position rarely praised, a position built for sacrifice. And yet, even then, there was something unmistakable. He didn't look like a young player trying to survive. He looked like someone who belonged. He didn't panic. He didn't rush. He understood space. He understood timing. And most importantly, he understood that defending is not about destruction. It is about protection. That night, few realized what they were witnessing. But history had already taken its first step. Because legends are not born in moments of noise. They are born in silence, when preparation meets opportunity. And Paolo Maldini was just getting started. Talent can open a door, but only courage allows you to stay. Paolo Maldini didn't ask for time. He didn't ask for patience. He stepped into a world that devours the unready. At AC Milan, youth was not protected. It was tested. Every training session felt like a final. Every mistake echoed louder because of one truth. He was not just Maldini. He was Cesare Maldini's son. Opponents didn't care about his age. They attacked his side. Again and again. Speed merchants tried to outrun him. Power strikers tried to intimidate him. Veterans tried to expose him. And Paolo learned something crucial. Fear does not disappear. You learn to move with it. Under the guidance of Arrigo Sacchi, Milan transformed football itself. High lines, collective pressing, absolute discipline. There was no hiding. Defenders had to think faster than attackers. One wrong step meant disaster. For a young Maldini, this system could have broken him. Instead, it refined him. He learned spacing, angles, the art of arriving exactly where danger would be, not where it already was. While others slid into tackles, Paolo stepped into passing lanes. While others chased shadows, he closed futures. Soon, attackers stopped celebrating beating him, because they rarely did. Week after week in Serie A, the most unforgiving league of its era, Paolo faced legends in their prime. No tricks impressed him. No reputation scared him. Not because he was fearless, but because he was prepared. Coaches trusted him not for his strength but for his clarity. Teammates trusted him because he never panicked, never blamed, never shouted. Leadership doesn't always raise its voice. Sometimes it simply stands in the right place. As Milan conquered Europe, Paolo matured quietly inside the storm. Titles arrived, praise followed, yet he remained unchanged. No theatrics, no ego, only one belief. Defending is not stopping someone, it is understanding them. By his early 20s, he was no longer the young Maldini. He was the reference. Opponents studied him. Young defenders copied him. And still, he kept evolving. Because Paolo Maldini never played to dominate moments. He played to control eras. And the era was far from over. Great teams don't need noise. They need balance. At AC Milan, balance was everything. And Paolo Maldini became its center. The armband didn't change him. It revealed him. Captains are often measured by speeches. Maldini was measured by calm. In the tunnel, before finals, while others bounced with nervous energy, he stood still. Not because he felt nothing, but because he felt everything, and refused to let it spill. European nights expose the truth of players, especially in the UEFA Champions League. One mistake there is eternal. One moment becomes a memory you never escape. Maldini understood this better than anyone. Finals were not battles to him. They were equations. Space, time, movement. In pressure moments, he didn't chase glory. He erased danger. Against the world's best attackers, he did something almost insulting. He made them look ordinary. Not with aggression, but with intelligence. Positioning that cut passing lanes. Timing that made tackles unnecessary. Awareness that arrived seconds before chaos. At San Siro, fans learned a new feeling. When Maldini stood between the ball and the goal, fear disappeared. That trust is rare and priceless. Years passed, managers changed, systems evolved, yet one constant remained. If Maldini was on the pitch, order existed. He adapted without drama, left back to center back, youth to veteran, student to teacher. And when defeats came, because even legends fall, he never hid. No excuses, no pointing fingers, just accountability. Losses sharpened him, victories humbled him, and somewhere in that balance, Paolo Maldini became something football almost never sees. A leader who didn't demand loyalty but earned it. The armband wasn't a symbol, it was a responsibility carried in silence. And the silence spoke louder than words. Time defeats everyone. Speed fades, strength weakens, reactions slow. Everyone except Paolo Maldini. As football entered a new era, faster, louder, more commercial, many expected him to step aside. They were wrong. At AC Milan, squads changed, stars arrived, stars left, but Maldini remained. Not because of nostalgia, because of relevance. He no longer relied on pace. He relied on distance. One step less, one movement earlier, one decision faster. Young attackers ran harder than ever, but Maldini ran smarter. He studied them, their habits, their first touches, their fear. Experience turned into a weapon sharper than speed. When Milan rebuilt itself under new pressure, Paolo adjusted without complaint. Left back, center back, back three, back four. Positions were suggestions. Responsibility was constant. In the biggest matches, when chaos grew, he slowed the game down, not with fouls, but with presence. Opponents hesitated. A half second of doubt is all a defender like Maldini needs. Fans didn't notice flashy moments. They noticed absence of disaster. And that is the highest compliment a defender can receive. As younger teammates looked around, they didn't see an aging legend. They saw a guide. Someone who didn't shout instructions, but positioned himself so others followed naturally. Leadership matured into wisdom, and wisdom aged beautifully. Even injuries, which haunted others, could not erase his value. Because Maldini's greatest skill was never physical, it was clarity. In a sport obsessed with youth, he proved something timeless. Understanding beats intensity. Calm beats chaos. Mind beats muscle. Time kept chasing him, but it never quite caught him. Endings reveal truth. Not how loudly you arrived, but how deeply you are missed. When Paolo Maldini approached the final years of his career, football did something unusual. It slowed down, as if trying to hold him longer. At AC Milan, a generation had grown up watching him. Then another, then another. He had become part of the stadium's structure, like the tunnels, the lights, the silence before kickoff. At San Siro, his final appearances felt heavier than finals, not because of trophies, but because everyone knew. This was the last time football would see this version of loyalty. He didn't leave after one last goal, or one last headline. He left the same way he played, without drama, without noise, with dignity. His farewell wasn't a goodbye. It was a handover, a message passed silently to future defenders. This is the standard, not perfection, responsibility. Paolo Maldini retired having played football at the highest level, for longer than most careers even exist. But numbers were never the point. What he left behind was rarer, a definition. He proved that defense could be intelligent, that leadership could be quiet, that loyalty could be stronger than ambition. In an era obsessed with transfers, he stayed. In a sport addicted to speed, he trusted the mind. In a game fueled by ego, he chose balance. And that is why attackers remember him. Coaches reference him. Defenders study him, not as a highlight reel, but as a lesson. Paolo Maldini didn't change football with moments. He changed it with consistency. And consistency is the hardest form of greatness. Legends fade when the noise stops. Standards don't. And Paolo Maldini didn't just defend goals. He defended the game itself. Forever.